Jerry Reynolds helping us out. Earlier, somebody asked Jerry to name his favorite players that he ever coached, and I knew it'd be the first name out of his mouth. He mentioned the great Eddie Johnson, played many years in the NBA, was an original Sacramento King, currently an outstanding Suns broadcaster. And joining us now, Jerry, is your favorite player you ever coached, Eddie Johnson. Say hello to EJ.
Well, EJ, the man, the legend, the myth.
I thought you retired.
Well, I did, and I should have stayed that way. This is a temporary thing, you know.
Yeah, he's just helping us out, EJ, and thank you. I know you guys are so busy. You're on the road.
Hey,
yeah.
Honestly, he retired, and Jody said, "Look, no, you got to go out the house."
Well, there was certainly, I think a lot of people would say, "Wow, you stayed way too long."
Eddie, we were just talking about a number of things that happened when Jerry was coaching you guys. He was telling us about a time you guys ran a play for LaSalle Thompson because LaSalle wanted a play run for him, and then he says Tank screwed the play up twice, and then he just didn't run it. Were you there for that? Do you remember that play?
I probably was. I mean, that's why we got our head knocked in a lot of nights. But yeah, Tank didn't get a lot of plays run for him because he was such a tremendous offensive rebounder. He could go get my misses and Reggie's misses and Larry Drew's misses.
Yeah, there's a lot of misses there.
A lot of misses, but we put it up a lot. But that's what he did. He and Joe Klein, I mean, they rarely got the ball thrown to him. Like, we would throw it to Tank, and Tank would catch it. There was no problem with Tank. Tank had good hands.
I always said, too, I mean, Tank could set some screens, too, couldn't he? I mean, he was –
oh, yeah.
He was
he was my bodyguard.
Hey, Eddie, the story was, I don't know if you remember, but if Tank had just, and Tank's such a good guy and was saying, you guys never run anything for me. So we spent a little time in a shoot around or something, had a play put in called Texas. And so we're going to run that the first time we had the ball. And we did, and Tank forgot it. And then we ran it again. And anyway, the first time out, I'll never forget this, he came up and said, "I don't run anything for me anymore. I don't want any plays."
That sounds like him. He wasn't used to it. He wasn't used to it. That's probably what it was. And Jerry, I mean, even when we were in Kansas City, these guys, I mean, we rarely ran a ton of plays for the center because it was always action off of them setting screens, and that's how they would get the ball. And it was very frustrating for them, and I knew it. But I remember one time Joe Klein was crying for the ball, and he wanted it. And I threw it to him a couple of times, and, Joe didn't have the greatest of hands.
No.
So the ball kind of bounced off his hands, right? So I told him, I told the guys, I said, "Look, don't throw the ball to his hand." I said, "The best target is his head." So he had one of the biggest heads in the history of the game.
He did.
I said, "Throw it at his head, and he'll catch the ball there." And I learned to just fire it at his head, and literally he would catch everything. So that was always like my information and my hint in regards to throwing the ball to Joe Klein.
Hey,
I hope he's not listening.
Hey, well, I hope so too. But I can tell you a story when Joe was traded to Boston, and Bird called me one time and said, "Where can I throw Klein the ball that he could catch it?" And I said, "Just throw it right at his chest. He won't catch it, but he'll knock it down."
Back catcher.
Yeah. Eddie Johnson with us. Eddie, what do you think of where the Kings are now, given, you were here the first couple years, and then you guys had, Jerry was telling us that was a really special team that got broken up there, and the Kings, after the long drought, now things headed in the right direction, it appears. You have a unique perspective on their history. What do you think of where the Kings are and how they got there?
Well, I think they're in a great place right now. I love the idea of playing in Sacramento. I was very disappointed that, obviously I got traded, and Jerry had nothing to do with it, so you can't blame him.
No, I didn't.
It was our wonderful, insightful, tremendously gifted, nice Joe Axelson, who obviously didn't like me for some reason. I have no idea. even to this day, and Joe's not here, but I kind of, when I pray sometimes, I'm like, Joe, why you didn't like me? I mean, I didn't do anything wrong. I mean, I showed up and played every night. Yeah, I was probably limited in certain areas, but I showed up. I didn't miss games. I played hard, and he didn't like me. And it was just, it's funny. I tell young players this all the time. I'm like, your challenge is to stay in the league as long as you can. And you're going to run into people that's going to view you differently. And I think at that point in time, we had a lot of gifted players on our team when we came to Sacramento. It was myself, LaSalle, as Jerry and I are talking about, Reggie Theus, Larry Drew, Mike Woodson. We had some high character guys that didn't follow us to Sacramento. We had a Joe C. Merriweather who passed away a number of years ago, who was a tremendous leader on our team. But we had a great group of guys. But yes, we did struggle on the court, but we were young. And I thought we had a chance. In our first year in Sacramento, we started out slow, and then eventually we played well enough to make the playoffs, and Houston beat us in the first round, but they went on to the finals. So it was like, okay, we understood why they beat us. And I just saw growth there. And then, along the way, I think, Joe Atchison kind of beat the team up a little bit, and he made a deal for Derek Smith. And I think, and Derek Smith is not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And Derek was really a good dude. He just had an edge to him that didn't fit. And we went downhill after that for a while. And It was good to see the change, and with Divock and Bibby and all of them, and how they turned it around, and Peja. And now back to the point where the Kings are, I'm extremely excited for it. Even though I work for the Phoenix Suns, I am always got a keen eye on the Kings. I support them continuously.
Eddie Johnson with us, one of the original Kings, and of course his coach here with the Kings, Jerry Reynolds on Sactown Sports.
Well, Eddie, just one final thing. I was telling Whitey, I said one thing about Eddie Johnson. A lot of guys don't want to take the last shot, and they shrink up a little bit. And Eddie, you couldn't give him enough big shots.
No, I wasn't running from it. That was food. I was not running from it at all. I figured, Jerry, look, I had to do something, right? I mean, I never got any pat on the back for defense. I mean, you did, but no matter how well I played D, no matter, I could go 8-9 games and just concentrate on D and try to do it. I would never get credit for that. And that's the label of the league.
Oh,
it's no matter once a label is put on you, it's hard to shake it. But the one thing I knew I had a great label for is I can shoot that damn ball and score.
Well,
so that was always in forefront of my mind. That was
automatic. Yeah, I remember telling Joe Axton when they were talking about trading you. And, he's Eddie, don't do that. I said, I've been just in the league a little while, but I know he gets 20 points when he plays, and the guy he plays gets 15. And I said, if everybody does that, we'll be 82-0.
Exactly. But I was a Cotton guy, and you know that. I mean, I was a Cotton guy, and Joe didn't like that, and it's unfortunate. That's why it's great to always have great leadership within an organization, and I believe the Kings do right now, and they obviously had it when you were there as well. And I just love what Mike Brown is doing. I love the way that they play, and DeAaron Fox is, man. Oh, I'm telling you, he is unreal. And I just love how they play basketball. The unselfishness of Harrison Barnes, who could really cry and say, "I want the ball more," as noted by him having a huge game in opening night. So there's just a lot of great things about that team that I love, and we've had some battles with them here over the last few years.
That's very gracious of you to say. Jerry says that DeAaron Fox is on track where he could become the best player in Sacramento Kings history. What do you think of that?
Well, he is. I mean, he's on track. Now, can he sustain it, right? That's always the key, is can you sustain it? Because if you sustain it, that means you got to be there a lot of years, and also you got to make sure that you stay healthy and stay on the court. And then when you do have an injury, make sure that you are in great enough shape that your recovery is going to be a lot faster. And I just admired what he did the other night. He knew that he was going to be out a bit. He knew. And so in knowing that, he got back on the court, and he put the Kings in a great situation to win that game. Because, if it wasn't for him in regulation to get them to overtime, against the Lakers, then they probably, don't have that chance. And so, I think he's going to be tremendous, man. He's definitely the best clutch player in the game right now in the fourth quarter. I haven't seen anybody better than him. And so, I expect him to continue to grow.
Well, Eddie, what did you think of Victor Wembanyama the other night? I watched that in your broadcast. I mean, wow.
Yeah. It's always a game. Like, for me, I remember my second year in the league. I think I had like 35 points and like 15 rebounds against the Milwaukee Bucks. And when I had that game, now note I just said my second year. But until then, I just had no clue. And I was 23 years old. And after that game, I said, okay, I got this. And I went on to average almost 20 points a game in my second year. And the game became more clear for me. It became more easier for me. My angles became more precise. And it was like every night I went out there, I could pretty much write down what I felt I could get against that potential team because I figured it out. This kid figured it out against us this past weekend, and that's his fifth damn game. Like, that's what blew me away. It's like at 19 years old, because I was being critical that he shies away from the paint. He likes to float on the perimeter and all those things. And in last night, like the first game we gave him a gift. I mean, we should have beaten them the game before that at home, but we gave him a gift. It showed me something because everything now was in the paint. Like, he started playing in the paint and using his size, and they were throwing lobs to him. And Kevin Durant is almost 7 foot tall. Just to give you an idea. Kevin Durant looked like he was 6'4" guarding him.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
That's how tall he is. That's how tall this guy is. And he's agile. Did you see him dribble the ball up fast at the end of the third, I think, and pulled up for a three and made it like a guard? Look, no, the league is in trouble. Like, now we know why Greg Popovich is probably going to coach till he's 100 years old. The league is in trouble.
Do you think, he's ahead of schedule, you could say? Do you think, Eddie, that maybe the Spurs are a little ahead of schedule? I mean, the West is so compacted this year. I mean, could they be a team that's going to be legitimately in the hunt for at least a lower playoff spot this year?
Without a doubt. They showed me that. They've shown me that all year. They got two forwards that can flat out score. Keldon Johnson and Pascal can score. Okay? And Zach Collins has finally reached his potential in what everybody thought he was when he came out. So, yes. That what I tried to tell people yesterday, that was no fluke. Jerry, you know this.
Yeah.
The one thing about San Antonio, I don't care how you look at it. I don't care if they don't have talent, no talent. They're going to play hard, and they're going to run their offense pristine. And if you don't match it, they'll beat you. And that's exactly what happened. Suns are beat up right now, a little beat up. Obviously, we got a lot of new players, so he got a little bumps and bruises. Then, Devin was out for 3-4 games. He came back last night. It's just a lot of unevenness going on with them. And that young team in the Spurs, they took advantage of it, and they shot lights out, man. Oh, yeah, they're not going anywhere this year. They're going to compete all year. And people like giving the Suns a hard time losing to them, just watch. They'll beat the Lakers this year. They'll beat Golden State this year. They'll even beat Denver this year in the game. I just believe that they're going to compete all year. And, yes, bottom rung, 8th, 9th, 10th spot, yeah, without a doubt, I think they'll be in a play-in.
Wow. Hey, Eddie, looking at your numbers, which are so impressive, one of the things that jumps out there is the fact that I know you've talked about this on your show. Your years here in Sacramento, you had been a starter and very productive, and then you're coming off the bench. And Jerry's talked about this. I've talked to Jerry about this. You were a guy that understood why that was best for the team, which is not something that is common, certainly not these days. Tell us about what that was like for you, even though you were a very productive player, to look at the situation and say, all right, I think we're all better off here if I come off the bench, because not everybody has that presence of mind or that intelligence.
Look, it wasn't easy for Phil Johnson to come to me and say, Eddie, we're going to bring you off the bench. When I'm leading the team in scoring, I'm second in rebounding, I'm shooting around 50% from the field as a jump shooter, okay? And he came to me and he said that. Initially, I wanted to kill him. I did. I wanted to kill him. And I just said, you know what, Eddie, I'm not going to fight this. And it was in the last year of my contract, too, so I knew a little bit of that, too. And I just said to myself, I'm going to prove to them in reverse. I'm going to still lead the team in scoring. I'm going to still rebound the ball. It's like I'm going to still do it. And I knew I was going to get the same amount of minutes, so it was no issue with me.
Mm-hmm.
And it turned into something that actually allowed me to play 18 years professionally. So, yeah, I was mad at Phil Johnson initially, but over the years, I just like, you know what? It turned out to be great. And I used it to, even though as another proven point that, you know, that justified why I should be playing and why I should have the ball and all of those things. So, and we made the playoffs that year. So Terry Tyler came into the lineup and gave us a different look early in game. And, you know, we turned the season around and we made the playoffs that year. And although Houston beat us, but we still, you know, to me, it seemed like it was a successful change in my game, and I just lived with it.
Hey, you touched on the Suns, some of their issues right now. Is Bradley Beal's back? Is that becoming a cause for concern at all? Do they know when he's going to be ready to start playing?
Yeah, well, I'll say this, and I've said this for the last few years, and I know Jerry probably have great thoughts on this as well. As I said this the last few years, the biggest mistake that players made was getting sneaky rest because they could get it. And what I mean by that is training camp. Training camps used to be 28 days. And we used to go 2 a day, every freaking day. Now, I'm not saying do that, but what I am saying, it shouldn't be 5 days. Like, training camp is 5 days, and they're playing exhibition games. And the stars and the guys that are going to play during the year aren't playing in the exhibition game. So now when the season starts, they're not in great shape. And by the way, and Jerry knows this, after the 4th or 5th day of training camp, your body like reacts negatively towards you. You are sore. And you have to battle through that. Now, look at it the way these guys hit it. They don't even practice but 1 a day. They don't go terribly hard. And so the soreness for them starts to happen during the season, early part. And to me, it's happened to a lot of players early on right now in this season. Lower extremity injuries happen. So all these things are going on because I believe that they don't prepare for the 82-game marathon like they should. And they're trying to start the marathon, and they're not prepared to play. And so it goes back to Bradley Beal with his back. Yeah, he's had back spasms. And he should be ready. I think I heard that quite possibly he'll play Wednesday against Chicago. And now the Suns they just holding him out. He's getting better by the day. They let Devin get to 100%. He could have played earlier and not missed the games that he missed. And you saw how he played last night. He's just ridiculous. And so I think they'll be whole here in about a week. And I think, you'll see a better team. And the role players will be good for them because, I think we have a very good nucleus of role players.
Well, Eddie, thank you for being so gracious with your time. We appreciate it. I know you guys are so busy, been traveling. Thanks for coming on with Jerry. Jerry, anything else for
Well, just Eddie, all-timer in my book, and obviously played on a awfully fun team to be around. And I know you and Mike Woodson and are still very close. And, that's the kind of team that I think they've got now, Eddie, one very similar to the chemistry and the good guys that was on that team.
Yeah, well, look, anytime I'm invited to come on this show, I will be, because I love this dude that I'm talking to. Okay? And I'm not just saying that. He knows it. He is one of my favorite coaches and people I've ever been around in this game. And I just hate it. That's one of the reasons I hated leaving Sacramento when I did. is because of this guy here. So, Jerry, look, it's good that you got out the house and you doing a little something, because you can't just totally retire. You got too much energy. Yeah. Okay, so stay with it.
Well, hey, that's exactly what Mrs. Reynolds told me. Get out of the house some.
Thank you, Eddie. We appreciate it very, very much. We hope to talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Eddie.
Okay, guys. Love you, Jerry. Okay, take care.
Take care.
Oh, there you go. Jerry Reynolds' favorite player, Eddie Johnson. Yeah.
Good guy.
Yeah,
Good guy.
Absolutely. We're going to take a time out. When we come back,